I call these the lost years. I had graduated. I spent a year not doing anything. And then I decided to pursue what I had studied. And then it was 1 year of just studying and practicing and honing the skills that I could. So I did another round. I was still living in Gatineau, applying to studios in Ottawa. And so early December 2004, I got an invitation to go to Studio A, let's call them. So I went in and I remember shaking hands with the studio's coordinator. He saw that I had brought a tape and he said, "Is that your demo?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, let's go have a look." So we walk over to TV, he pops in the tape and we go through it, we watch it. I remember the tape finishing the demo and he looks at me and he says, "Well, I'm not seeing anything here that's particularly impressive, but you say you know Flash, so we're willing to have you do a test." So that's what I did. They somehow sent me a file that I worked on and then I submitted to them. And that was all I could do. I think it was Christmas Eve. It was either the 23rd or 24th of December of that year. I headed out with my mom to go to my grandma's house for Christmas. And when we got to her place, you gotta remember, back then we didn't have smartphones, right? So the only way to access email or that kind of thing was through a home computer. So I asked permission to go on her computer just to check my email and things like that. And when I logged in, there was an email from the studio. And they said, "You did great. Come on in after the holidays. We'll set you up." So that was my foot into the industry. One thing that I like to tell all new graduates, I know these last years have been particularly difficult getting into the industry. Don't stop. The worst thing you can do is to let your skills rust. Wherever you're at, obviously try to improve if you can, but find a way to keep going. These days, Toon Boom Harmony is pretty much the industry standard, but there is cheaper software out there. Moho I've toyed around with. It's pretty affordable, not free, but affordable, and it's actually pretty powerful software, great for independent animation. You got Krita, which is a free drawing software. I just learned recently that it has an animation module, and so I've been meaning to tinker with that. If anyone out there has experience with that, shoot me a message. I'd love to know what you think of it. And then you got Blender, right? If you're working in 3D, Blender's free, and it's gotten so good that now its development is being subsidized by, big companies. I know Ubisoft was putting money into the program. I just learned recently that Netflix Animation is investing into it. So totally viable. There is stuff out there, but the important thing is to keep going. And if you've stopped, pick something up, do something. And it doesn't need to be complicated. You just need to do enough to keep practicing, keep working those muscles before they atrophy. And if you have absolutely no idea what to do, obviously it'd be great if you can do your own short films or that type of thing, but keep it simple, small projects that you can finish. Okay, keep that in mind. Just keep it small, realistic. As you get better at it, as you get faster, maybe you can take on more ambitious projects. But the important thing is just to keep practicing. And if you have no idea on what you could do, check out 11secondclub.com or .net, I forget. Every month they release a short clip. I haven't checked out their website in a while, but what they used to do, they'd release this short 11-second audio clip for people to animate to. So every month, people would submit their animation. I forget how it works, but the winner basically gets feedback from one of the instructors at Animation Mentor. If you manage that, if you manage to win, good on you. That's awesome. But the important thing is to practice, to keep working at it. Because the worst thing that can happen if you still want to pursue this career is, like I said, to let your muscles atrophy and just rust and basically lose the opportunity. And so you don't need a studio to animate. All you need is yourself and a couple of tools, whatever you can afford. Do it on pencil and paper if you have to. I don't know that that's the cheapest way, actually, but find something to keep going. Back to my story. So I was hired. And then I was put through 2 weeks of training with one or two other artists. I think basically they wanted to teach us how the rigs worked, right? How the characters were built. So I did those 2 weeks, and it's only then that something had occurred to me. When I signed the papers, when I started working there, I remembered something about tax credits. And the thing with the tax credits was I had to basically live in the same province as the studio. That might have been why I never heard from any studios before, because I was still living in Gatineau at the time, just across the river, right? So I sat down with the studio coordinator. I think what we had managed to decide on was that I could probably use my mom's address in Ontario or something, and they could say that basically I was reachable there. It just wasn't where I lived, technically. The problem with that was while I was living in Gatineau unemployed, I had accepted employment insurance. There was a paper trail showing that that's where I lived. And so I brought that up with the studio coordinator. And he thanked me for being honest, but that basically that meant he had to let me go. One of the challenges with productions, TV productions here in Canada, is there's a heavy reliance on tax credits. And the tax credits are province specific. So I was let go. I was paid for the 2 weeks of training that I got, and that was it. So close. I had just broken into the industry, and it didn't work out, at least not at first.